Okay, guys, time for the Q&A then. So last week, I sent out I put out a video saying reply to this and with the questions. So I've put them all into a nice little presentation, and hopefully I'll be able to remember what I was gonna say for each of them. I didn't really plan anything out. I just kind of answered it in my head while I was making it, and then put a few pictures on the thing. So I'm not sure whether I want to turn this into like a regular thing, like once a month or something like that. Um, but it will be like a regular thing, like at some point. It'll probably end up becoming a stream or something. I'm not sure. Not sure what to do with it at the moment, but I'm just going to trial it and see what it is. So I've answered all the questions that were asked, and somebody's question actually came. Somebody commented while I was literally making this, and I added it on at the end anyway. So I've took the video down now, so we can carry on with this one. So the first question by Cerulean is: at what point did Korean start to click for you so you could enjoy reading? So um, to be honest, the reason I just started reading because I don't know what it was, but I just had a feeling that reading in itself was somehow just the best way to learn because it just feels like you're seeing so many words, and it felt like it was the best way I could cover the most content. So when I actually first started reading, um, I was kind of far in anyway. I can't remember how long it was, maybe 6 months or something. And so I started with these books on the left, these history books, and I spent ages looking for something to read that wasn't like just like pure high level native content, but something that was more for like kids or aimed at kids or simplified for children. So on Kerim books, um, they have so this was on Really Select. I think these are still on there, and the Greek and Roman gods one that I'm just reading it at the moment at night time instead of playing games nowadays. Um, just a just for a change of pace. So these ones, I enjoyed reading these, but there was still a lot of words that I didn't know. So the reason I enjoyed reading them was because it was something that I wanted to read. It's about like a subject that I wanted to know about. So obviously I like history stuff and stuff like that. So these books were like perfect and they were simplified for kids. So if you like certain types of content, then you should just read that. Like there is no time to be ready, but what you should do is build up your vocabulary using like the vocabulary books, vocabulary apps. Just quickly go through them and get like as many words out of it as you can. You don't need to put them into Anki or anything. You just need to go through them and just it's like see they exist because these are the really really common words that you're going to come across. So even though I had sorry if the mic is too loud at certain points, but even though I had done this, there was still there was still so many words I didn't know, and this is why I always say that like you'll never actually be ready for reading because even though these books are aimed at children, there was literally like thousands of words that I still didn't know, and they weren't all just like nouns and stuff like that. Like the majority of things I did know in the book were what's it called, like people's names and like place names and stuff. There's certain facts that I learn in it, and like the Greek gods one at the moment is really good for just like learning about the gods because I can understand basically everything. And even still, there are some words in there or like certain phrases that I've never seen before, and so everyone is still learning. But the point is, just read something that you want to read as opposed to just reading for the sake of reading. This is why people don't like what's it called the Yonsei readers as much. This is why I always say just go to like free and then transition into native content because you're only using them to build your knowledge. So the point for me was literally when I started reading. That was when reading started to click for me. Was when I found something that I wanted to read. Even though it was aimed at kids, that just made it better because it makes it more entry level. But I still think that you need to build up. See, if I had known these existed, I would literally have been reading these from like a month in, 2 months in, or something like that, just as quick as I possibly could. Because I'd basically finished all the grammar and stuff, and I was just doing vocabulary, and I was inputting the vocabulary into Anki. So I think that should answer the question. And then after I had finished these, I read a few novels, and then I found this other Korean books series that was like classics translated, and I enjoyed reading through all those because not all of them were on Ready Select, but I think I read about 38 in total, and they were really good because they were simplified, and I was constantly learning, and it was like um, that 80%, 90% like knowledge, and the amount of words I learned. The first one I read, there was something like 500 words I didn't know, and then it just gradually got lower and lower, and that can make you enjoy reading as well. Is when you seeing the numbers of words that you don't know going down, and you feel you're comprehending more, and it really fits together when you start doing it a lot. I think that's when you start enjoying it, when it's simple enough that you can understand most of it, but at the same time you still need to be learning words, and for some people that is, for me, as long as I know I'm learning words, that's like an extra step of enjoyment as well. So hopefully that's enough for that question. AEP asks, what's your end goal, and just as a bit of fun, what don't you like about Korean? So my end goal is just keep going, just do it forever. Like, that's literally my end goal. My end goal is literally to just be able to do anything in Korean. I can just watch a TV. Like, it's just about having like a separate self that can exist in Korean. Somebody like just a part of myself that I can just do anything I want. Any if I go to Korea, I can interact with anyone. I can do anything. I can basically do the same things that I can do in English. Um, that's my end goal. My end goal is just to be effectively just a native in the language and be able to read whatever I want and interact with whoever I want. So that's pretty much the shorter part of the question. And what don't I like about Korean? So there's not, like, for the language itself. Obviously, um, I really dislike just the amount of like double, like literally like you have pure Korean word and a Sino Korean word, and they mean exactly the same thing. And I'm not talking like a little bit the same. I'm talking exactly the same. But that's a minor problem. So the main thing is just the amount of words. Like, there's so many that mean the same, but the amount of words in general. So the amount there's that, like, there must be more than English like commonly used. The amount of commonly used words is ridiculous. Like, I'm pretty sure if you read English books for like 2 or 3 years, you would just like come across like one word every so often. And like, if I read a book now, even though I don't really read books, there are so few words, even in older books, that I literally don't know. It's actually just, it just makes me feel like there's less words in total, and less words commonly used, or like maybe the average person knows, because um when I ask people questions about some of the words that I come across, they don't know the words. Like, they've literally never heard the word, and it's like kind of, and it's not just like really specific words, like it's not just something like a name of a fly, or something like a name of a bird or something like that. Like, it's literally just like alternate words for other words, and like there's so many different like combinations of hanja that are just still used. Like, it would be okay if it was like archaic word, no one ever says it, yeah. But when it's appearing regularly in some books, and you ask people and they're like, I've never heard that word, it just kind of like, okay, maybe that happens in every single language, but it is kind of annoying. And to showcase the other problem is that it's just the amount of words. So on the screen you can see these are on Naver Dictionary. If you scroll down on Naver Dictionary on words, you can see words that mean the exact same thing. Like, well, it's almost the same sometimes, but most of these. So the amount of words for corpses and the amount of words for like being annoyed and being scolded is like actually insane. So there are the thing is with some of them, like, what is it, being angry, yeah. So you have like hwanada, hwaneda, yeah. So you have like hwa, song, and yol. So yollada is like, they all mean to just be annoyed at something, and then you have extra ones on top of that that are like double hanja words, and like other words that, and it just, there's so many words that mean the exact same thing. It's just too much. It's just too much. Like, English probably has very, very similar, but the thing is, when it's your native language, you don't notice it as much. And then, like, why do you need like five? I've sat here and tried to think of all the words for English for corpses, and there is no way I can come up with like five. And there is about 7 or 8 in Korean. Like, this doesn't even show all of them. And we had a list from a Korean before, and there was like literally like 9 that were like commonly used, and then he couldn't think of the other ones. But he was like, even he thought that he was like, oh, there is actually more, but I can't remember them. So for me, it is just the amount of words and the amount of words that mean the exact same thing. So hopefully that has answered the question. All right. So Politon asks, is there any question in particular that you wanted to answer but didn't see it written here? Feel free to give an answer. And the answer to that is no. So the point of this is just ask literally any question, like literally any question. Like, I kind of want to take this channel into like not just language learning or like language tips and stuff like that, but just like put it in with like other self development stuff. And I just mean like physical stuff like exercising and nutrition and like all that kind of stuff, and then other maybe other arts like I don't know, I'll probably think of some later. Just like ways to like mental health and stuff like that, like things to just better you as a person. And like one thing I want to get into is like I want to try meditating, but like one, so I can share my experience with other people, but two, to help to see if it makes me better. So one of the things that I've been experimenting with lately is like sleep and trying different things with like lights and all that kind of stuff, like lights, um, not using the phone for or like devices or any kind of like blue light for a specific amount of time. I've got like blue light filters on pretty much anything that I've had for years anyway. And I've tried recently grayscale and all that kind of stuff. So it is about just trying like just general self improvement really. But um, mainly it will be about like learning languages, not just Korean, because eventually I'll start learning another language that I'll mention in a minute, because there is a question about it. Um, like full not full time, because what I want is to be split. Like I want to be I want to be able to do anything in the 3 languages, and those 3 languages are like the only languages that I want to learn. I don't want to learn any other than those ones. Um, and then that's about it really. I've lost my train of thought. So um, next question, because this one is kind of just open ended, and I'm not sure if I want to take it onto just being a common thing, or whether to leave the like questions in the description and then I'll come to them later or something. But or what I wanted to do was use the community, but you can't use that until you have like 1,000 subs. So eventually, at some point, it will just be most likely just in the community thing, in the community tab on my page, and I'll put the question out and do probably once a month, or maybe stream it like once a month or something, or probably even less often than that. It depends. Really depends what like the viewers like want as a majority, not just like what I want to do. Because mostly the videos are like something to help the viewer, or just something that I'm interested in, or something that I want to share with people usually. So that's about that. So Kaiser K, can you explain how you would/did stents mining? Obviously sentence. What content did you mine from? Also, what are some regrets while learning Korean? What did you think was inefficient, not worth your time? On the other hand, what do you find the most productive and effective? Thanks, keep up the good work, and you have been of great help. Thank you very much for the question. So, um, I haven't really done sentence mining, but what I used to do was, this is the picture on the left is the dictionary, KR Dict, Korean Learners Dictionary, I think it's called. So in this dictionary, it has some often very good example sentences. So what I would do is uh, before, like a long time ago, I stopped doing it like literally a year ago, probably more than that. But what I would do before is I had I would take a sentence out of the dictionary, rather than, as long as the thing is, as long as you understand the sentence, it doesn't matter where it comes from. So no matter where I'd seen the word, like a lot of the time when I saw the word, I didn't understand the whole sentence anyway. So, like or like other parts of the sentence, so it was like easier to just tell myself that as long as I understand the sentence, like if I understand one of these sentences, I would just put that sentence on the card. But what I came across is I had too many cards, and I was literally never able to catch up because I was literally making like 20 cards a day and only doing like 10. And then I ended up with like spending on Anki like 30 minutes, and I didn't want to do it because it took too long. And then I stopped paying attention. And when you stop paying attention, what's the point? What's the point in doing Anki if you're just clicking, or like, oh yeah, okay, I've read this, okay, yeah, but you're not interacting with it mentally. You're just clicking through and reading the thing. Oh yeah, okay, I get it. Oh, I don't get it. Oh, I get it. Like it feels like just a waste of time if you're not interacting mentally with the thing. And like, so what I've done is, instead of doing sentence mining, all I do now is I just, if it's got a picture, I get a picture and I put the picture on and I put the description on the front. I put the word on the front, the description on the front, and I put the picture on the back. And the picture is just there to give me like a visual clue afterwards. Like the description is just there as a nice description. The card as a whole, like, it doesn't really matter whether it's on the back or the front. Like, I don't really care. All it is it's just there to remind me that word exists. I'm not repping for like, do I know this? Don't I know this? If I don't know it, or if I feel like, oh, I want to see that again, then I'll press easy usually, so it comes up quicker, or I'll press again so that it comes up in the next 2 days, and then that way I get to see the word again. That's all it's there for. I'm not trying to grade myself on whether I knew the word or not. I just want to know if I want to see the word again. Like if it's not going to come up again, like sometimes you'll get like a really rare word, and then what I'll do often is I'll just, if I come across a word and it's in Anki, like I'll check Anki to see if it's in it, or if I remember putting it in, and I'll just reset it. It doesn't really matter. Like you can just keep resetting words every like 2 months. Like you don't need to go off what Anki is telling you to do. Like you can just do what you want yourself. So hopefully that answers the sentence mining question. And what are some regrets? So I actually regret not spending enough time looking for something to read and spending too much time entering the um, sentences into the Anki, because at the time I thought like that is the greatest. Now I do think it was helpful for me, and but it wasn't like so helpful that it's like worth doing. But I do think it's useful. The thing is, it's so useful for other people that was what made me feel like this is so worth it, because I can share it with other people. But people don't really want to use it for some reason. I don't really know, but it's not really that important. Like some people have used it, but I think it's just so much easier to get people keep wanting to do sentence mining instead of just going through these simple sentences that have been laid out. Like I don't know if it's really hard if you haven't read like Korean grammar in use, and you haven't read the 2000 words book. Then it might be a bit harder because you don't have the, like, you don't even know what the word is, so it probably is a better idea to run through them anyway. But I kind of regret wasting time making them, because that cut into my time of like, I was listening to like music and stuff on the side, but it cut into my time of looking for something to read and then reading, because Anki is really not that important. So I even regret making any kind of sentences, because I literally had 1,000, maybe like 1,500 sentences, and I couldn't catch up to them. Like I just could not catch up, because there were so many words that I didn't know, and I just could not catch up. Um, from like the words that I was reading. So um maybe that's like inefficient now of the time. Yeah, so inefficient. Personally, I would just say, you know what, just you're better off reading something rather than spending time on Anki. Like for me, Anki is not, it's not important. It doesn't really help. 2 months, 3 months later, you can't remember anything that was in there anyway. You only remember things because it constantly comes up in the reading. A lot of the words that I like 100% know, I know for a fact I've picked them up from reading. But I always put the words in there as the picture, because it reminds you of the words, just like occasionally. Like, and sometimes I've had it where I read the word, 2 days later I see it in Anki, 2 days later it comes up in the book, and I know what it was. And then when you understand that sentence, only then when you understand the sentence, is that when you be like, I know what that means. Because and then you take that on to the next time you see it, and then you're like, okay, I remember what it means from the last, and then it just continuously snowballs until like you see a word and you just know the word straight away. So that is partly what would be the most productive and effective, is literally to build up your vocabulary with like I like the Sejong app now. That is, I think that's really good for building vocabulary, simply because it's kind of free as well. So there's literally no excuse for not using it because everyone can access it as long as you have a phone. Okay, some people don't have a phone. It's 2021. Sorry for your loss, but um, it's super effective. But if you don't have a phone, buy a phone instead of all these books. That's probably a good idea. So build up some vocabulary. Find something that's interesting to read, and just reading. Reading is the most effective, 100%, like without a doubt. The vocabulary is like triple the amount. Um, there's a lot of short sentences that you can understand. There's just like you can cover just way more content with reading. Like the amount you can literally just read pages and pages and pages and pages in like hours. Or like maybe you can get the same amount of content maybe out of like listening, but it's not as effective because with listening you don't have the script there, you don't have the exact meaning, and sometimes you're guessing. You don't, as soon as you don't know a word in reading, like you're screwed. You can't go back. Well, you can go back, but you can't just hear it. Whereas when it's on the page you can just read it. Like especially with Korean, maybe it's different with something like Chinese or Japanese where you might not even be able to read the word. But even then, I've heard from what I've seen, loads of people who read Chinese and Japanese, obviously because they study the Hanzi and the kanji so much at the start, they can read words and have absolutely no idea how to pronounce them, and just read pages and pages of just like it's literally just reading. So it's kind of a bit different to Korean, because with Korean you know exactly what it says, you can pronounce it, you just don't know the meaning, which you can just look up anyway. And then sometimes obviously the hardest part is searching the dictionary and trying to find which of the meanings when it's got like 20 different meanings. So hopefully that has been of a good help. I can't really think of anything on the lines of listening that would be the most productive and effective for me. I'd just watch something that you want to watch, and probably try and stick to one, like like one series or one set of domain. I think with watching and reading, you have to kind of like drill it a bit more of like doing the same thing. Like so, you probably get more. You would probably get more effectiveness out of watching an episode 5 times than you would reading a paragraph 5 times, because when you're reading, because you can cover so much content and there's so much repetition, it probably makes it more effective. And because you always know what it says, but you just maybe you don't understand it sometimes. It feels like a waste of time to read that 5 times. Whereas when you're watching something, you can always pick out new things. And I always feel like read when you listen and understand I feel like it makes a deeper connection, because I don't know. So it's just probably just to do with the brain taking audio information to a deeper level than just reading it. So hopefully that's answered that question. And whew, Nachanan Buncha sorry, that is absolutely butchered. It's probably a Hindi name, or possibly around India somewhere, that kind of region. And if it's not, please shorten your name. I already know it is though. So I used to really love reading, but uni made me absolutely despise long texts. So now I can't properly lose myself when reading like I was able to. What should I do? So what you should do is, the first thing is, you should either take your native language, or if English is very, 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 very good, is you can either get into that. Obviously, this is like a roundabout way of doing it. So you can get into reading something fun. I would probably try and avoid non-fiction. Just avoid non-fiction and just stick to fictional stuff. So if you just want to not try and build the habit in a different language and you just want to go straight into Korean, the best thing is to do something that is like webtoons or video games, or something that's just like less intense, but it's still reading. And also it needs to have that like either fiction, or because you've lost your ability to read, or like your desire to read, because you've read too much boring non-fiction, and now you need to read some fiction, because what you want to read for, you want to read for the enjoyment of the content. Like that's why you want to read, so you can understand the content. So I can prescribe webtoons, video games. Probably maybe you don't even need to listen. Maybe you just can just use subtitles off TV shows, subtitles off YouTube, but just avoid reading for a bit, or try and find it so that what you want to do is enjoy reading again by reading fiction and stuff that is not so serious, and doesn't feel like your life depends on it, like the grade that you're about to get when you mess up the facts in the book. So that's pretty much it for that, because I feel that you have to do that yourself, and you have to train yourself to overcome this obstacle. And I know you can do it, because anyone can do anything. So Nathan E says, what do you think about putting off reading for a long time in order to develop your listening ability? Do you think that putting off reading for 6 months or even a year is a good idea if you want to sound as native like as possible? I think that in the case of Korean, I don't think that actually listening helps as much as people think it does. I don't think that in 6 months or 1 year you could get as good. You would not even be close to a native. So let's look at these little development milestones that I've got off the thing. So within 12 months, a baby will babble their first words. And then in 2 years, they only know 150 to 300 words and have 2 to 3 word sentences. So imagine as uh, a foreign person trying to learn this language without somebody constantly pointing at things and telling you what they are, and constantly speaking to you in very simple sentences, because watching native content and watching even simple content is not going to be the same. You're never going to hit the same. So it's not worth spending the time only listening, because as adults we have the ability to process complex information, and as adults we can learn. You can easily learn 3,000 words in your first year. Like in the first year, obviously you might not be able to use them all correctly. You could even change that and be like, I'm going to learn these 500 sentences, and you could do that, and you could know exactly what they mean, when to use them, and you could deliberately watch things, and so you can pick out those exact sentences, and then when you hear that, you could save the clips and do all this, and then. But the thing is, it's not so much about I don't think reading is going to ruin your accent or anything like that. And the thing is as well. So let's take the tense consonants for example. So the tense consonants, a lot of people can't actually hear them until you know how they sound. So even then, you would have to spend time watching videos on how to make them. Like anyway, like you wouldn't be able to just listen. Oh, I'm just gonna sit here and watch TV show, even the same TV show over and over and over and over again, because you're probably not gonna pick up on that part of the language. It's like a lot of people in the Japanese community saying, like they even, I think Matt was saying he studied for years and he just didn't even he didn't even notice pitch accent, like, and that was years and years and years. Once you get past a certain age, I don't know the exact age, but I believe like your brain starts optimizing itself for the language that you are existing in, and then it allows you to hear much better the language that you are trying to learn. Now, how like malleable the brain is past that, I don't think we actually know. I don't think we can give exact numbers, exact dates, exact years. But if you wanted to listen, if you just wanted to listen and learn a language, you would literally have to spend probably like 3 or 4 years. And this is why people who watch anime for 10 years, people who watch K dramas for like 10 years before learning, they're at an advantage because they've heard, even if you're not paying attention all the time to the words, like even having like listened to so little Japanese in my life, I can still hear Japanese words very easily. Like there are some like phrases that I've picked up and like I continue to pick up today, like just by hearing them like once. Even when I was watching Casa de Papel, so I was watching this, and then you just hear words constantly. What was the one from Dark, like Anfang? Like you just hear like words and you just pick them up so easily. I forgot where I was going. Because it's just from the repetition of listening. So it would just take ages and ages and ages to do it. Like the reason you can do it with like German and Spanish is because it's so close to English. But the further you get from English, the harder it is to do, and especially because Korean has a lot of distinct vowels, distinct consonants that are very very different to things that we would distinguish in English. Um, I think that if you wanted to do that, you would need a longer time. So I think that um, 6 months, even a year, is not enough. Unless there is a possibility. There is a possibility. But because you said put off reading, I don't believe. But I think if you were like 5 years in and you wanted to like get better, like it would possibly be worth to do like a 6 month or a year like silent period to be like, okay, I'm just gonna listen, because at that point you could probably hear most of the words anyway. If you were like 5 years and you probably hear like most things anyway. So you just then change what you're trying to listen to. You're changing. Instead of listening for words, you're listening. How do they exactly say this? How do they exactly do that? So that would be that option. But I think that it's not worth putting off reading, because your ability to gain knowledge as an adult, like ridiculously quick, is you're just like diminishing that. Like I don't know. Like it's not that much of a problem. Like your accent is not going to be that bad just by like a year, 6 months. Like your accent's going to be terrible, even if you just listened, or even if you read and listened. Like you can just do both. I don't think it's going to affect you that much, because listening and reading at the same time is going to reinforce. You're going to be hearing and you're going to be seeing words, and it's going to help more than just listening would. I don't believe listening on its own would help, unless maybe you were literally a baby. But you would. The reason they learn so quick, and the reason they can learn by listening, is because people are pointing, people are doing actions, people are speaking in very simple sentences, which you aren't going to find in abundance online watching content. But combined with study and combined with reading, it all meshes together and you learn a lot very quick, but not quick enough because the language is distant as hell. So next one, she underscore. When do you think is a good time for the monolingual transition? Of course, everyone is different. However, at what level of comprehension do you think would be good? Adding onto that question, do you think going half monolingual, half bilingual dictionary before transitioning fully to the monolingual is a good idea? So, what I think is a good idea is looking at the exact description of monolingual transition. And the reason I like this, what's it called? So, this dictionary, KR Dict. So, the reason I like this dictionary so much is because it has the English description and the Korean description, and you can have them simultaneously come up, and you don't need to click words. And the worst thing in the world is this like single word that comes up, and this is terrible. Even just having the English description is pretty good, but what you can do is, when you have this, is you can look at the Korean description and you can read the word, and then you can see if you can understand. You can look at the Korean description first and see if you can understand it. If you can't understand it, you look at the English description. So instead of trying to treat every word like it needs to be like, it's not like a 0 to 100. It's literally like, you just treat every word like, do I understand the Korean description of this word? And if not, what is the English description? All that matters, truly all that matters, is like this monolingual description thing, the whole thing. All that really matters is that you are understanding what this word means. So this singular word is very, very bad for that. Whereas the description, even in English, is pretty good at giving you what that word exactly means. And then what you can do is click on the word, get some more examples, and then see even more. Or what you can do is just go on the dictionary and then, oh, okay, that's what it means. And then you just go. So, contrary to what I've just said, some words like animals and stuff like that, like they, I'm getting thirsty. So, animals and stuff, it's a lot easier to just realize, like, okay, it's just like a thing. Like if you just look up kimchi, you don't need the description of kimchi. You know kimchi is like a food. Okay, what is kimchi? Okay, it's a fermented cabbage. Okay, yep. That the thing is, you don't need anything beyond that. Like so, this example of like shimchong here. So it's so like convoluted, and like like the longest explanation ever. In the English one is, I would say, is like a lot longer than the Korean one, obviously, but like being able to read all you need is the first part here, and all you need is 심청전의 여자 주인공. Yeah, so that's all you need, and then you just be like, oh, okay, that's all I need to know. Like sometimes you just don't need to know the description. You don't need to know the description of an apple. It does not matter, and this is why picture decks and pictures are like super important. Obviously, you can't picture everything, but pictures are the way forward, and they're the way to understand things without having to translate, without having to read descriptions, without having. The thing is, you're never going to memorize the whole description. Like, even if you put it into Anki and they put the description into Anki, you're never going to memorize the whole description. Like, if you see the word apple, you're never going to be able to reel off the whole like description of apple. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. But what you do is just test yourself, and eventually, at some point, you start realizing. So there is no specific like number, because some words, um, they have different words to describe them. So as long as you understand all the words in the description, you understand like all those words, and you don't need to like. It means that you don't have to keep like doing these recursive lookups of, okay, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? And this doesn't come at like a specific time, because this exact description here for hyodo is like very simple. If you know all those words, they could be the only 5 words you know. That means you know 5 out of 30,000 words. Like, there is no you don't there's no like levels to it. So what I would suggest is probably using Chaodict or something like that, so that you've just got like the English description to back up, like just to give you the confirmation. Like, you can use it as a confirmation, and then eventually at some point what you do is you just turn the English one off, and then when you don't understand the English one, you just come back to it, and just it doesn't really matter. It's just a transition into understanding the words. You don't want to use the dictionary to learn words from the description. You want to use the dictionary to, okay, what does this word mean? Like you do in English. Like, you don't want to, if you're doing recursive lookups in your own native language, like come on, how many words don't you know? Or like it's like a synonym for something that's really rare or something, so you don't really need to know it anyway. So um hopefully let's answer the question well. Um Transition formula, when is a good idea? It is a good idea whenever feels good, whenever you feel like you're understanding the descriptions of the Korean, then you just go full Korean, and then if you need to come back, you come back. Like, it's that simple. It's not, you don't, no reason to overthink it, no reason to go too hard on it, no reason to set yourself dates, stress about it, none of that, because it's so simple to do, and it's so simple to just reverse. And what's the reason for doing the monolingual transition? What is the exact reason? So that you understand the words better. That's probably the only advantage that you get, is that like, you understand the exact meaning of the word in the language, but you can do that in English anyway. Like, if you have an English description or your native language description, you still can understand the word perfectly. So all that matters at the end of the day is that you're understanding the word, you're understanding the word in the context that you found it in, or in the context that the other questions are. And then what will make you remember the word is when you see it again and you remember it, and then you're done. So that's all that matters. And then once you remember the word 2 or 3 times, you're good to go, because you never have to look that up ever again. So Elliot says, can you talk us through the first week of a Korean language learner? What did you watch? What vocabulary did you learn? I presume he means like me specifically, so not just because anyone could. Everyone's learning journey is going to be completely different. So the first thing I did was ordered the Korean Made Simple, and I ordered my first 500 Korean words. And the first thing I did was I went through Korean Made Simple 1 and 2, and then I went through Talk to Me in Korean, and I also went through my first 500 words and put them all into Anki. And on the side of that, like at night time, because I don't think I was doing that much at the start. I was only doing like 2 or 3 hours a day, and then I would do like just watch something at night. But I think I had the first time I watched this, I had English subs on. 청춘 시대, Age of Youth on, I think, Netflix. It's on Netflix. So they have 2 seasons. So I watched the first season and the second season with English subs, and then I turned them off the second time. But I think I only watched it one time in the first week. Um, and then I went through the 500 words book in that first week. Like, I'd gone through it and I'd looked at all the words, and I was like, okay, I know this word and that word. And there was also vocabulary in the Korean Made Simple books, but don't think I think I finished them both in the first week, because you got to think it's quite a long time of doing like 3 or 4 hours a day. You can easily get through like Korean Made Simple. I think I got halfway through the first one on the first day, and then finished it off on the second day. But then the second half of the week, I went through them again. Like I went through Korean Made Simple 1, went through Korean Made Simple 2, and went through the first 500 words, but like at a later time in the same day, and then I went through them again, and then I went from there, just carried on going, doing grammar stuff, finding more vocabulary books, and then I ended up getting the Derek One 2000 words beginner intermediate, and just doing a lot of vocabulary, entering them all into Anki, and then I was like 6 months in looking for books to read, but with the knowledge that we can now give you of and all the resources like Ollie Richards' book, knowledge of knowing where the Yonsei books are, um, people can learn a lot quicker, and they have the resources there, and then you can get into native content quicker. So it's a pretty simple question. That's what I did. Next one, Mr. Sean 6919. Do you think that you will ever learn another language? If so, would you do anything different to what you have already done? Okay, so the first thing is it would be Italian because my family is from Sicily. Well, my grandfather is from Sicily. I've been there once. I went to Sicily once. I've been to Pescara once as well with my friend when we was a lot younger, like 10 or 11. And I genuinely wish I had grown up with it or went more often and like tried to get involved more than I actually did. So what would I do different? I would do different is I would just read earlier. I literally just read straight away. These are the books that I've bought on the left hand side here. I've bought all these books. There's more below that as well. Oh no, there's more. There's actually more on the shelf than that. That must be an older picture. So I've got loads of books to read. I've got a comedy series to read. I would also just start playing games and stuff. I'll probably end up playing. The first thing I'll do is I'll probably play Pokemon Sword because I've already played Shield, so I'll play Sword in Italian, and I'll probably play some other games in Italian. And I Bravely Default 1 is in Italian, and there are a bunch of other games. I could play Fire Emblem again in Italian, but I'll probably choose a different one because a lot of older games, especially like European stuff, so things like PlayStation and the DS have like all the European language on it, so like English, German, Italian, French, Spanish. So it makes it a lot easier to just get straight into. And I don't need to think too much. I've already got games that I can go. I can go through. I can order Pokemon Alpha Sapphire or something and go through that in Italian, or I could even do it in Korean, but I don't really want to do that at the moment. So I will learn Italian and I will take it to the same level as I do Korean. In fact, probably it'll probably get there quicker. So because I can get there quicker, I'm not going to use Anki. I might use Anki for pictures and I'll start with having the Korean description on there. So I'll have the Italian word, Korean description, and then in fact no, I probably won't even do that. I'll just have the Italian word, Italian description, picture. That way I can see more Italian descriptions as I'm doing Anki, but I won't do anything more than that. It will literally just be picture decks. So Anki's basically out of the equation. And the thing is, with Italian and like Western languages that are close to English, it's so easy to just like you already know so many words. Like even if you don't think you know the word, you already know so many words. The only problems are conjugations. Now the only thing I haven't been able to find is a decent grammar guide that just gives you an explanation and doesn't try to explain. Like you don't need to explain for 2 paragraphs what a gerund is yet. I know what a gerund is, and you don't need to make up words like past participle and past remote. Like that doesn't mean it. It doesn't mean anything. All that means anything is okay. This ending that goes on many words means this, and just give me the conjugations, all the possible conjugations, and then when I come across a word, I will go back. Like a lot of the time, what I found was I actually started reading what did I read? Cuore. So I started reading this book called Cuore. Apparently, loads of Italian kids that read through school, and while it was relatively simple, there was obviously too many words I didn't know. So I would probably try as well. I know I didn't say this, but I would try to get like 2 to 5,000. What I noticed was I looked for a 500 words. I looked for 500 words website. I can't remember what it was, but there was 500 Italian words, and I already know like most of them because they're so similar to English. Or I just know that this is the Italian word for this. This is the Italian word for this. Just like from over time, from like years and years and years ago, or just like coming across them from quizzing and stuff like that, and like all that kind of stuff. So what I would do is try and get like 5,000 words, and then just like go into books, go into games. Obviously, you don't even need to wait until afterwards. You just go into games straight away and just start looking at words and getting the words. Especially, I would probably try to watch a cartoon. I would probably start with Peppa Pig or something and just watch it. As long as I know what happens before, because I've watched it in Korean anyway, I can just watch it in Italian. It's so simple that I'll just learn a bunch of words. And because I feel for me, because Italian is so like oh, I forgot what the word is. Phonetic. That's the one. Because it's so phonetic, and there's only a few like different like vowels and consonants that are even different to English at all. And some of them even cross over with Korean, so it just makes it so much easier to hear. Like for me, Korean is one of the worst parts of Korean. Is just it's just so difficult to hear what people are saying sometimes. And then I can listen to German and Spanish and all this, and even though I have like no experience in them, I can always pick out like guaranteed pick out words every single time. But the first time you listen to Japanese, Chinese, and Korean, you just can't pick out a single word except maybe a loan word. Like you don't know any words. But we're learning a European language. You just start with so many words, and it's like I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just a thing with like phonetics. It's so similar to English. It just feels like it just like sinks in better. Like the words just sink in better as well. That's what makes it better. Like that's about that for that. Hopefully it's answered the question. All right, next one. Do you like jazz from Business Cow? Skibidi bum bum but skibidi bum bum. I don't really know that much jazz to be honest, but I do like. The thing is with music, I like every genre, and it just depends on the song. Like you can literally, except, oof, maybe it's a bit of a far fetched one, but literally the only thing that I've never come across a song that I liked was like screamo or something like that. Is just too off limits. And then obviously in the comments you get some offended screamo fan who's like, "There's like 6 million different versions of screamo." Yeah, nah, no, 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 no. I've listened to like loads of different versions growing up because I knew people who listen to certain music and whatever. But the thing is, I've always listened to different music. This is why it was so easy for me to get into Korean music and different types of Korean music, is because I listen to any kind of music. So I literally listen. One of the biggest groups I grew up listening to was Gorillaz, which is basically a bunch of different experimental music. So like as I've grown up, I've always listened to different music. I've always kept up with grime. I've always listened to like pop music. Um, Whatever you mentioned, ballads, yeah, you gotta love the ballads. You can't hate the ballads. You can't hate dance music. You can't hate EDM. You can't hate the dubstep because it does wub wub wub. Everyone loves music, and I don't really know how people corner themselves into like just listening to one genre of music. Like I don't really understand how that happens. Like I can literally listen to anything, and it really does just depend on the song. But I'm like a big fan of lyrics. So if your song is like bad lyrics, or not even bad lyrics, just like no lyrics, but it's like trying to have lyrics, like they're just like either like too quiet under the music or something like that. Like it just puts me off the song like completely. But it usually does depend on the tune. If the tune is good and you've got good lyrics, your song is probably going to be pretty good. But it is all taste at the end of the day. So hopefully I do like jazz. That is the answer to the question. So Chegelin says, do you have a crush on someone in the K-pop industry? If not, ignore this question. Second question, what's your goal for this year regarding Korean? Are you able to take the topic this year? In my case, I have to since I'm planning to get a scholarship. Crying face. And last but not least, do you have in mind studying other languages besides Korean, which are and why? Already answered that. Lo siento por llegar tarde. Espero que puedas responder mi pregunta también. Okay, so recently I don't know what it is, but I was just watching like music videos and blah blah blah. Listen to some songs. Oh, Sunmi's pretty good. Like I've listened to Sunmi for like maybe like 2 years now. Like oh, she's pretty good. But I don't know what it was recently. But I was looking at her like I'm not sure if she has like plastic surgery or anything like that. But I just think she's like one of the better looking. I think even though she's a bit skinny or whatever, but I just put her on there because it was like literally the only thing I could think of. So I don't really have a K-pop crush. I don't really care. Usually it's just whoever I'm listening to recently. Like I like Queen's voice. Queen's voice is very good. And then like the thing is, a lot of the thing is with actual K-pop groups is that there are just too many of them. Like I don't understand. I don't really understand how people get into this because there's so many of them. And like, if you ever like most of the time I watch the video, I don't watch videos of them because the video is so like distracting like from the music. So usually I'll just listen to like the on YouTube they have like the topic and then their name and then they'll just have the video uploaded with the no picture. I listen to that because a lot of the time as well they either look really similar or like they just have like loads of plastic surgery and I don't like it. I just don't like it. So what are your plans regarding Korean? My plan is just to keep going and just keep going, keep getting better. And the day I stop getting better is the day that I can start Italian, or it's the day that I've quit because I can't be bothered with it anymore. But that's not going to happen. So I have here the list of books. I've already planned out what I'm going to read for the rest of the year, and hopefully I can meet all that. And if I can't, it doesn't really matter because I can just remove some of the books from the middle, the classic books, and I want to try and finish most of the series this year, and then I'll finish off the last series because I think there's one left. Yeah, there's one series left, but it's two sets of books. So I'll try and finish that. But I don't really have any plans for like any kind of goals, no topic or anything. I could just take the topic if I wanted to, but I think I would practice for it beforehand. So what I would do is I would just get a bunch of past papers, go through them, maybe find some topic resources online. The chances are I know most of the words anyway, except and then there'll be like words that I don't know. But most of the topic and where you'll get your points is um, learning how to answer the questions and like where to put your time. Like where are you like when you're listening to the question, what are you doing? Are you closing your eyes? Are you looking at the page? There are people who know the exact like best ways to do everything. So what I would do is just go find them and get the answers from them and then because it as much as it is a Korean language, it's still just a test and you have to study the like test taking skills. Once you've got your test taking skills, that's where you'll get like most of your points. When you're doing the writing, you just remember phrases. Like my girlfriend was doing IELTS. If you look up for IELTS, there are hundreds and hundreds of videos about like specific phrases to use for specific question, and just use this phrase and then add stuff on top. Like when you start the question, like when it's a speaking one or whatever, you just put this phrase, and when it's a writing one, you just write this specific thing, and then you just change some of the bits into like there are so many like ways of improving your score without improving your ability at all. So that's just some advice for the topic. And then, do you have in mind studying other languages? Yes, Italian. Which are and why? Already explained why. Been to that into pretty deep detail. So hopefully, you'll be able to listen to that first. So sorry for butchering the Spanish, but um, thanks for watching. So hopefully everyone's enjoyed it. It's been quite long. I haven't had a drink for a while, so I'm gonna have a drink in a sec. Um, so hopefully everyone has got some more questions possibly, or we can save them for another time. Depends how many questions this gets, but I don't want to do it too often because we'll run out of questions. So hopefully everyone has a decent answer to the questions. Hopefully you've learned something today about me, learned something about yourselves, learned something about Korean, learned something about life in general. It's all about a learning experience. So if you want to as well, if you've listened this far, um, what kind of content you want to see, whether it's just literally anything, any kind of content you want to see, um, let me know. I've got things planned that I want to do, like I just want to do like a quick tutorial on like how to use chopsticks and more reading tips, all that kind of stuff. So I've still got content planned, but it is interesting to see like what people want to know. What do you want to know about? Do you want to know about like how to get fit? Do you want to know about what to eat? Do you want to know about the best way to do this, the best way to do that? Do you want to know about all sorts of things? I'll answer those questions. I'll make videos about those. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help everyone improve in some way in their life. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Leave a comment. Love you all. Thank you.